You also suggested that there might be a copay at an emergency department for GP-type services, and then you said that would be discretionary, and it would essentially be to send a message to those presenting if they'd been prudent and responsible, they'd never presented in the first place. So the question I've got for you is, what does prudent and responsible mean? So let me put some scenarios to you. Should a smoker be charged a copay?
I think that's a fair question. I think a smoker, I would say that's within the normal body of risk of the general population. But if somebody presents to an emergency department who is there and is injured themselves in a drunken incident, for instance, self-inflicted, should the taxpayer be expected to clean up take the full cost for cleaning up for that person's mess?
So a smoker, yes. Drunken alcohol violence, no. What about violence on the football field?
Well, I think in those cases, that's if we're talking about a society that wants to promote physical exercise and activity, that's an acceptable risk. I mean, it depends. I think it's a question of unacceptable risks being taken.
But I suppose the question I've got for you is, what's unacceptable risk? Someone speeding in their car, someone who's overweight, and who's making the decisions?
Well, I think.
Do you think, is it the hospital, or should there be government policy that says this is what we think is acceptable, we're going to charge you on the basis of this, and then we're going to have to try and work out every single contingency here to determine what the copay should be?
Well, I think there should be obviously there should be consistency, and I would think that if there was any decision to allow for co-payments in the states, it would have to be done by the Commonwealth and the states agreeing to do that in terms of the National Health Reform Agreement framework as well. So there would need to be consensus on how it's administered, and they have to obviously be consistent and fair, and not individuals making capricious decisions.
Okay, so smoking's okay. What about being overweight? Is that okay, or is that part of the normal risk profile? I'm just getting a sense of what is prudent and responsible, and what sort of message you want emergency departments to send.
Well, I think basically it comes down to, if you like, actions or behaviour that causes consequences that are avoidable. And I would say that if somebody is overweight, that wouldn't count. But if somebody
is that not avoidable?
Well, some would say yes, some would say no. I mean, depending on the history, the personal genetics and what's the hereditary propensity to being overweight. But if you present to an emergency department, if you've stuck something in a place that you shouldn't have stuck something, I mean, I think that's and
my 3-year-old with the biro tip, is that prudent or is that age related?
I think I'd give them the benefit of the doubt, Senator. But if you presented with a milk bottle in the place that it shouldn't be as a consenting as a grown adult, I think that's something that I don't really feel that our emergency departments should have to deal with, but of course they have to, but they do.
Do you get the sort of point I'm making? It's a pretty slippery slope. It's very difficult when you're asking people to make judgments about this sort of stuff.